Hey Gene, can you hear me?
Hey, Julian, yes, we can hear you.
Oh, cool. How are things?
It is going good, and I think a lot of the people on here in our audience is especially excited for some of the announcements that we made last night.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's get started. For those that are here on time, we don't like waiting around. So,
All right.
yeah, thanks for setting it up.
Okay, cool. Just so a quick words for everyone just joined us in here on time, and we'd like to get things started. Thank you for joining us again for our monthly AMA for May. A lot of stuff has went down, and I know that you guys have a lot of questions based off of our announcements last night. So, in order to keep things short and sharp, I would like to introduce our speaker for tonight, which is of course our CEO and co-founder for IXS and sister company InvestX, Julian Kwan. Passing it over to you, Julian.
Uh, hey Gene. Uh, ooh, where do we start? We want to do like an overview of all the great things that have been going on the last 30 days, I guess, or probably not 30,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Let's
last month.
yeah, let's talk about some of the stuff that's happened the past 30 days, and then let's
Sure.
give the community what they want.
Yeah. Uh, Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for joining, taking times out of your day. Appreciate that. We have teams been, super hard at work as usual. Lots of positive activity. I guess on some sort of admin fronts, we've been really strengthening up the platform and we've brought in more resources, hardware, software, humans, robots, AI. Um, as we move forward here in this new world that we're in, so we've been um, doing a lot of work that we won't talk more about behind the scenes, which I'm really happy to see. Uh, the What else has been happening? Well, why don't we just jump into the announcements yesterday because that's probably what most people would like to hear about. What I'm kind of most excited by. I think to lay the groundwork, we've spent almost the longest time I think out of Asia focusing on the RWA space and have just spent 6 or 7 years of people just copying and plagiarizing our materials, our content, our ideas, our products that don't really actually exist there. But in the blockchain space, it's very, very.
Hello, Julian. I think we lost you there for a
Oh,
second.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just to lay the groundwork for how I think about kind of the BTC real yields. So first of all, I think it's completely groundbreaking. We've been strategizing on this for about 5 months. I started about a year ago. A couple of big um, BTC holders were asking us to issue real world assets on Bitcoin protocol, which we could do, which we haven't done, which no one's really done yet, to make Bitcoin more useful. And obviously, Bitcoin, number one digital asset, unlike every other asset. 60% of the market cap, pristine collateral, all the good stuff that everyone on this call would already know about. Well, what else? It's usually, but it's sitting there idle, right? So if you look at the stats, there's some really exciting innovations in Bitcoin Fi, Bitcoin layer twos, whatever terminology you want to use. Now, of course, the Bitcoin layer twos and DeFi platforms are DeFi, right? So the concept of securities licenses for those guys is almost non-existent, and that's just a different strategy. So we looked at a lot of the layer twos, and we're speaking with a lot of them now. Uh, what's the reward system currently available for Bitcoin? And let's just, instead of saying Bitcoin holders and investors this time, let's just say for Bitcoin, right? So for Bitcoin, there's multiple layer twos. The general structure is using locking up the Bitcoin uh, for one or two or three various reasons. And in simplicity, the rewards or the yields that are coming back are in the altcoins of the layer two platform, right? So that's the general explanation, I would say, and the simplest explanation to kind of cover a lot of. Now, there's different nuances and different flavors and different colors. But so what that means is that's great, that's exciting, that's definitely more valuable than zero, right, which is what most Bitcoin gives you. So we looked at that, thought, well, why would if the majority of BTC will want to have a reward or a yield that's equal or better in quality, and that's how we kind of came at the problem. So we don't consider altcoins the same quality as Bitcoin. I don't think anyone in the world does, but maybe some crazies in the altcoin space. So what's equal or better to BTC? So from our perspective, it's a tokenized treasury or a tokenized money market fund or a financial instrument that's from the real world, right? And I'm not talking about is it what's equal or better in terms of do I think Bitcoin's money or not? I'm just talking about if you have, the number one asset that you own in a specific industry, that's what it is, and you can't dispute that. So you don't want to put that at risk to get any like more of something else that you consider to be much lower, right? So that's how we kind of came at the problem. And then we looked around and thought, okay, well, actually, no one on the world has actually put this together yet because they just haven't. And so we've been out there securing key partnerships and bringing this product to market, and it allows BTC in a regulated environment without sort of smart contract risk, without some of the other risks that come along with DeFi, and I'm not picking on anyone. That's the nature of the beast, and allows BTC to earn real yield, right? So we structure loans to BTC, and there's one or two flavors of that. But if you want to know more about that, go and invest in the project and the product, uh, and then we take that USDC, USDT, and we invested into treasuries and money market tokens and whatnot. So look, I think it's an incredible, exciting product. I think essentially it's again from our perspective is like here's the RWA tokens assets. They want money, right? There's one way people get the main way people buy RWA today is going to their bank and buying stable coins or going anywhere where you can buy stable coins, crypto exchange, whatever. But let me rephrase that. Using fiat to buy stable coins to buy RWA. Right? That's the general path that most people have taken. So that'll continue to grow. I think last cycle we had 200 billion of RWA of stable coins. And when I say stable coins, I mean just US fiat backed. Like there's a lot of confusion, yield bearing stable. Everyone's launching stable coins and different mechanics. I'm talking about today purely US dollar fiat backed stable coins. That's what I mean by stable coins. And so I think there was like 200 billion in the beginning of this cycle. Let's just say, I think there'll be 2 trillion at the end of this, maybe more. And who knows, somewhere between them. But yeah, we see this amazing adoption. We see, the Genius Act, the stablecoin regulations coming to the US. Something will go through because it increases US dollar dominance, and both sides of the aisle, Republicans, Democrats, understand this now, even if some of them are opposing it or trying to just play politics. But this is good for Team America, and everyone in Washington understands that. So US dollar stable coins are going to grow. They're going to get supported. They're going to get massively increased by. There's going to be a massive increase by volume, and then that'll be great for RWA, right? I'll be buying RWA and treasury and all that stuff. So, so that's one side of the world. And so what we've done is we've said, okay, another side of the world is if we can build this system through all of our licenses and originations and relationships, custodians and liquidity providers, and everything that we've got, we can get more money into RWA instead of people using the first version. They don't have to dig into. They don't have to go to fiat to get a stable coin to go to their bank account to essentially buy RWA. They can leverage an asset they already have that I'm looking at it now is 2.12 trillion. They can leverage that in a de-risk environment to earn real world yields that are equal or better to the quality of BTC to the eyes of most traditional investors. So, again, if we start to think that BTC can, I think uh, everything I say today related to size, numbers, and whatever is obviously my own opinions, and people can do whatever they want with that. But I think it's relatively um, common thought in crypto that Bitcoin's going to double and triple and 10x. And if you want to be a crazy bull and say a million or 10 million, so be it. But along that path, it goes from 2 trillion to 3 trillion to 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 trillion, right? So uh, we're marrying ourselves to, in a big way, to the success of Bitcoin and the growth of Bitcoin as an asset class. If you've got $1 million of an asset class, and you know $100,000 of it's willing to come into a program like that, 10 million, a trillion, whatever, it's a scale game, it's a numbers game. So that's how we came into it. Yeah, super excited. We've got well, and just to drop in there, how we're going to go about this. As I said, like, we've spent 6 or 7 years, and it goes on every day. People copying, plagiarizing, just trying to just take all our materials, all everything that we've done, really, and just stick it on, and then convince a whole bunch of people that don't know anything that they should go and do something with these groups that don't have license, don't have product, and everything. Right? There's so many of them. So if anyone actually wants to go further about the product in terms of what's not available on the website, which is 90% of the high level understanding of all you need to do, then the next part of the details of that are available for real investors that register and provide, that bring BTC to the product. And that's what we're doing from a professional reasons, for industry reasons, for investor confidentiality reasons, for the huge amounts of time and effort and energy and proprietary information and the confidential information around that. But of course, we've already launched it, so we're here and we're excited to kind of talk about it. But I just want that to be clear because I've already seen a lot of questions in the chat group and we've answered them, and then these granular questions about stuff that from people that might not even ever buy the product. But that aside, yeah, that's what we've been up to. It's a very much a B2B product. You can register and participate, but the minimums are quite high. And again, we've got to build this out. We're the first people in the world doing it. There's several different types of products you can choose, several different types of RW you can choose. My ultimate goal is to get this into a daily redemption product in three major financial instruments, right? So therefore, Bitcoin in a non-volatile environment is easy to understand. Bitcoin in a highly volatile environment, it is requires, I would say, or is more attractive from a product perspective, with much shorter and shorter time frames. Right? So anyway, team's been hard at it. I give a shout out to Gene. He's been driving a lot of this on the marketing side. Some of our key designers and the business team. And so, look, this is also, I think, a time where BTC's been institutionalized. It's transformed from a speculative asset to a real credible, formidable financial instrument, right? Um, and that's also why this is the time for us to do this. Governments are buying, sovereign wealth funds are buying, listed companies are buying. I think there's 90 listed companies in NASDAQ that have Bitcoin treasury products or plays. There's a lot of this. I mean, it also means that I don't think the volatility of Bitcoin's going to go anywhere but up, because you get like more and more leverage in the system, more and more micro strategies, more and more companies. And that's something that's obviously completely out of our hands. But it's what we're aligning ourselves with because we think it's very, very exciting. I've been wanting to do stuff on Bitcoin for years, but it hasn't been anything to, it just didn't come together. It just didn't come together. There wasn't the quality of RWA that there is today years ago, like financial instruments like treasuries, money market funds. They're very new. They're like 1 or 2 years old max, but most people probably heard of them last year, late last year. And so people weren't. I don't think people want to lend their Bitcoin and invest in a startup RWA. Like that's sort of too risky. It's about yield, right? Fixed income, private credit, private debt, treasuries, money market funds. It's about generating yield, and institutions don't think like degens, right? And a lot of the crypto guys are just, they're either earning no yield, and that's okay, or they're like heavy into DeFi. And DeFi just essentially stake ABC token, get more ABC token, or get EFG token, and it's just a lot of restaking, liquid restaking. I mean, there's just huge risk involved in that. It's great, it's exciting, it's interesting. We're involved in some of that stuff, but again, I think BTC is different. People have not participated anywhere near, like there's like 0.15% of BTC in layer twos. So 99.85% of Bitcoin that's out there, minus the 1.5% or so that hasn't been mined yet, is not participating. You know, there's a portion of Bitcoin that's being used and lent in exchanges, mainly just big players. Let's just, I think, my research, I think we could find like 3-4%. So let's just say 5%, right, is active. So 95% is inactive, right? It earns zero, right? So I think now it's time, as we see more and more BTC products coming to market, more and more BTC money, more institutionalization, more clarification around regs, you know, and you can see now that if you look at the last 6 months, I think Bitcoin's far superior returns than most other crypto, because most of the institutions coming in at the moment, it's their first day in the game, right? And the first day in the game is buying Bitcoin, and then some of them will, or most of them, or some of them, whatever, they'll eventually go out the risk curve and start, Ethereum and, Solana and eventually down to IXS as well. So anyway, I've been talking a bit. Maybe we can move on to another question there, Jim.
All right, thanks for that, Julian. And in the spirit of just keeping things in the line of the language that we're trying to keep in the AMA tonight, I'm just gonna go over a few questions still on the BTC product.
Yep.
So I guess the first one is: will the company, I guess in this case, will IXS decide the source of the yield, or or will the investor be able to choose the RWA that they prefer?
Uh, well, they'll be able to invest into RWAs that are on the platform. So yeah, they'll be able to choose essentially. Yeah.
All right, short and sharp. Okay, next question is: will the Bitcoin yield program have any tokenomics related to the IXS token?
Say that again.
Will the Bitcoin real yield product have any tokenomics related to the IXS token?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've discussed this a couple of times. Like, I think a set of the tokenomics remain the same. Um, the buybacks, the burns, the vaults remain the same. I mean, BTC yield, real yield is a product that is looking to bring more capital into RWAs, more issuance, more trading, more volumes, more secondary, etc. So yeah, as I explained at the very beginning, it's not it's not it's doubling down on the capital to come into the assets on our platform. So essentially, that's double or triple or quadruple kind of the use case for IXS, or at least we're going to try to bring that much volume to it. So I think that essentially our goal, our one of our jobs is to bring utility to IXS. I think this is probably the best moves that we've made. I mean, the history of IXS, pre IXS, we were IX Swap. We were the first RWA DEX on Earth that did it properly and when got licenses, and we started in 2021. Um, the challenges of version one, and we got version two coming out soon. Challenges, there was a long list of challenges, but it was mainly the industry challenges. Um, there were no treasuries and money market funds. It was like everything was a private asset, everything was small, everything was hard to understand. So we managed to put some working pools up. Um, in terms of the goal was that and it still is, anyone with an RWA token can come to IXSwap on board and start their first liquidity pool, whether it is a startup, whether it is a treasury, whether it is a market fund. But the DEX component is still, way at the forefront. V2 is coming out. It's got like 10x the upgrades. Very excited by that. But again, like what is the BTC product meant to do? It's meant to get more USDTs into our RWAs, to drive our TVL, to drive the eventual secondary trading. and then drive more use case for IXS. So we got some really interesting um, incentives and rewards for investors coming into the project that are only available for those that are actually investing into the product. But yeah, I think this is all just a big super positive injection for IXS. As the team knows here, we've because of our expansion into issuance and launch pads and all these other things and going institutional, we dropped the IX swap name and we're just now fully IXS and as you know, there's the site IXS Finance. So this Bitcoin product comes in at like the perfect time for us to show the world that yeah, we do have a DEX. That's just one component, right? A lot of people buying RWA today don't want or need secondary trading. What does that mean? It means a lot of people who are buying where we've seen the product market fit for RWA actual tokens, not utility tokens. I'm talking about treasuries and all that, is in these financial instruments because they offer real yields and it's a great balance to crypto portfolios. And that's why it's a real use case and that'll continue to be a use case and will continue to grow. So what that um, what that means is a lot of those people want to buy a treasury and then sell it, right? Um, they have the need for setting up a liquidity pool for that asset because it's very liquid already. So that's why we've expanded our services. And I think that the DEX, the future of the DEX is very bright. I think it was again a couple of years ago, kind of ahead of its time. But now we've broadened the services and broadened the scope of the platform. And I think that by the nature of product market fit, real asset tokens, a lot of them just being buy and sell, we can do that, right? We do that on our prime reference platform. So again, so then where's the business, right? The business is driving more money to buy those RWAs, whether and that TVL grows, whether there's trading or not, you know, we care, but most people don't really care. Then it grows the platform. So I think that use case, utility, and all that is just going to significantly expand now. I've been hearing some really great stuff from like Arthur Hayes and a few other people. I've had this conversation 3 times this week. It's like most crypto projects, as we know, don't really need a token, and most of them don't really have a business model. Um, and I think what we're seeing now, because it institutionalized BTC, we're seeing this in the numbers, we're seeing this in the players. This is not like the crypto utility tokens that are now becoming the buy list for the sophisticated investors is ones that have a real business and a real platform. And I think that after 3.5 long hard years building platform, we finally come to a time where people as a market is now saying many people saying the same thing. Like, I want to buy alts, but only if there's a real business case, because it's still risky, and that's fine. We all know that. But then at least I know that there's an actual real use case because they're actually building something real. So I think, and because we're fully distributed, there's no unlocks, and proven ourselves time and time again to be delivering real products. I feel like finally we're going to see utility tokens of real platforms massively outperform whatever new tokens, nothing, and people just with PowerPoints and talking a big game or having no licenses or just whatever, right? So yeah, I'm super bullish. I mean, Gene, you and I talk about this all the time. Like we've just been chatting this week, saying like never been more bullish on the platform and the community and the direction here. Um, and yeah, you know, we go out now with a fully baked platform, ahead of the curve, another world first product, um, major um, companies speaking to us and that we're already working with are coming to us now, like insane amount of inquiries in the last 48, 24 hours, whenever it was. Um, and yeah, it's game on.
All right, really bullish on that one, Julian. I really like the fact that you also talked about product market fit and expansion, which kind of fits into the next question that we're going to talk about here. So I guess the next question is in 3 parts, and it's mainly on the U.S. expansion. So first one is, how is the U.S. expansion going? What does the roadmap look like there, and how does it fit into IXS broader global regulatory strategy?
Um, yeah, so uh, what we've what we've seen from many metrics. website traffic, global news, industry news. I think we talked about this on the one or two of the last AMAs. Then it's like there's been a seismic shift. Um, there's been a seismic shift with the US administration, the current administration, going from kill crypto to let's own it, let's dominate. And all the way to Trump launching meme coins and the Trump family launching doing a Bitcoin mining listing or SPAC or something. But his own personal shenanigans aside, I think it's called the Genius Bill. That's meant to be getting. I think it's sort of got first stage, hardest stage, apparently approved last night. It's essentially a stable coin regulation, which they haven't had in America. This is like, this is stable coins. This is how you deal with it. Go for it, right? Before it was like, we're not going to tell you what you can and can't do. That was Gary Gensler, Democrats, old administration, absolute nightmare, right? Debanking all the crypto companies, da 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 da. So now you've got, just as of yesterday, like you got clarity around one of the most important things for RWA, which is like more stable coins. That's coming. You've got, every single charge from the SEC to crypto companies has been dropped. You have, Coinbase buying Deribit, the biggest, I think, crypto derivatives. You got massive M&A going on in the US. Kraken, I think, bought Ninja, someone. And there's like 10 circles about to list, I think, if it doesn't get bought by Coinbase. You've got like kind of this insane like feeding frenzy going on in Wall Street because it's been suppressed for so many years. A lot of the banks, a lot of people, they wanted to do stuff. They either built it and they didn't launch it, or they tried it, or they did it but they couldn't tell anyone, et cetera, et cetera. So the reason I'm going all the way through this is that most people who don't work in the space or have been to America or whatever just have no idea how insanely bullish it is for crypto, yeah, as an industry, right? Banks can now custodize crypto. JP Morgan's now going to start selling it after just beating on it for years. Like, and if you Google it or even see some of our news channels, we're trying to keep up with all the news. It's just like day after positive news, even through the recent drop in value where everyone was, screaming about tariffs and the world's going to end and all this stuff. The news was incredibly bullish, right? Anyway, I don't keep so that's what's going on, right? So what does that mean? Just means huge more capital, huge more brain power. Team America's in the game. They want to be involved. They want to come back to, I guess, the America that I guess that I understand from the sort of the Facebook era and the first Silicon Valley, and the domination of tech, and now with AI, which is lighting up the space as well. And Trump is also very pro AI, and there's a lot of connectivity between AI and crypto. That's a different podcast. That's a different AMA discussion altogether. But what it just simply means is it's just like night and day in terms of what is going on. So, we're heading back to America. We're just there for some conferences and meetings, got some big meetings and all this other stuff lined up. Yeah, we're very, very bullish on America. We're very bullish on what America means to the rest of the space. And so many regulators around the world look to America to follow the lead. And when the leader is a complete shit show like it was for the last 4 or 5 years, many countries around the world mirrored that decision making or lack of decision making. Now everyone can just point and say, well, look, America's doing this and the US dollar, the kings of the market and all the capital. We just follow what they're doing. And what they're doing is saying, we want to own the space. We want to become the home of Bitcoin mining. We want every, and you've got Michael Saylor, the strategists out there, like telling every single company in the world, if you don't have a Bitcoin treasury, you're dead. And now all these people are coming in. So but it's not retail, right? So that's what's different this time, and that's why Bitcoin's soaring. Um, that's why alts are still flat. Um, and but it'll all come again. And I mean, that's my take on it. I think we're now fourth cycle. I've been in for two, I guess, or three. I guess I wasn't in the 2012 wasn't here yet. So I believe in the cycles, and I believe that this is going to blow everyone's socks off. I think that it might not go up as high as everyone thinks. I don't think it's going to go down then as far as everyone thinks. and then like the future's bright for capital innovation, new products. And we're just speaking to, we're speaking of Franklin. Who did I speak to today? Like UBS, Franklin Templeton. I don't know, there was so many phone calls, but anyway, like a year or two ago, you'd speak to one of these companies every 3, 6 months. The year before that, you wouldn't even speak to them, right? And now it's like three a day, four a day, and it's crazy. So, yeah, um, I think that America's, yeah, very important. We haven't onboarded US investors as most people in the world haven't. If you're not in America, there's massive compliance and regulation headaches and costs. And depending on which assets you sell, they're not welcome. A lot of people who have non-US assets, whatever, Singapore company or an Indian build real estate company or whatever, a German startup, a lot of those people just don't want US investors on their cap table because then they start to report back to the IRS and the SEC and all these things that because they've got an American, right? And it's a nightmare, right? So for US, we'll look to we're not making any announcements yet, but if I was to put a wish list out there, I would say set up in the US, um, you know, get licensing, do it properly. Pull all our US friends into those vehicles so they're clean, safe, and it works. And now that we're heavily focused on Wall Street financial assets, RWA, it makes a hell of a lot of sense for someone in our position to go and make those moves. So yeah, all in all, I think America's brings, I was on this chat this morning. I think if I could, in from my lens, my perspective, uh, the hundreds of discussions and conversations and messages I have each week, so for all these years, I think that America is going to bring like 1,000x the firepower than what we've seen so far, and I think that's conservative. I think it might be 10,000, and I mean like as in I think America is worth 1,000, and I think the rest of the world is worth one. That's how I see it from capital and firepower and not necessarily innovation because there's smart people all over the place, but it's hard to build stuff if you don't have any money. And America's the kings of funding crazy ideas and then eventually winning market share. And with an administration that wants that to happen, um, yeah, can't say enough good things about it.
All right, thanks for that answer, Julian. You actually answered a lot of the questions regarding Team America just on that answer alone.
I
Okay, jumping on to the next one here, a little bit more of a general question regarding the platform. Can anything be shared on the progress around the 6 billion plus tokenization pipeline, or are any of those deals gonna close or come live soon?
Yeah, I mean, what so yeah, we're hard at work on that. I think that a lot of those challenges are out of our control because people come to us and tell us they've got this assets and they're worth all this and we're ready to tokenize and then we do all our due diligence. Things aren't what they see. A lot of people are uh, talking up their numbers and about what they have. And again, we're not the assets, right? So everyone needs to understand that we've spent many years building the platforms, right, that allow people to buy and sell RWA legally, compliantly, etc., and the decks and all the great stuff that allow issuers to issue, right? Um, that's already just a monumental task. Like we are not the real estate group. We are not the treasuries company. We are not the money market fund. We are not the private equity group, right? Like we can't be everything. So the industry and our business is being tied to the quality, size, et cetera, of the RWA assets that have been presented to us. We can't create assets out of thin air, right? So, um, yeah, we've got a lot of our internal frustrations facing towards the clients and whatnot, but yeah, it's still definitely coming. Um, we 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 know again, like if you look at the on-chain data, it's really the financial instruments that are really getting the product market fit, because they've got the yield component to it. But even when you launch a product, you've got to put capital into it, right? So there's a lot of people that are blowing smoke up everyone's butts about, crazy TVLs in RWA, and the reality is that you've got to do the super. It's very difficult to get trust through and get through compliance for an institutional quality partner on either side, buy or sell, and we're making that happen. And it's a long game, and that's the reality. That's just the reality of it, right? So yeah, I think we're going to do sort of it'll take us a bit longer to get there and then we fly past it. And again, right now we're looking at bringing more of those much larger capitals to the space via our BTC real yield product, which will give us more of the capital to put into RWA to drive up the TVL. Um, Again, you know, one thing I would say about that is like it doesn't the existence of our business is not like a typical crypto dex, right? Obviously, they're 100% pretty much tied to how much volume's being traded on the DEX. We have a whole bunch of other services. We're a finance company. So a lot of the stuff we do doesn't have anything to do with TVL, but it benefits us, the business, and IXS. So I think it's up to us to do up step our game, and probably talking to Eugene, myself, and the team to start to explain that in a much better way for everyone instead of people sort of turning up and going, "What's the TVL?" This the other thing as well is we've actually tokenized a lot more assets than shows our TVL on maybe CoinGecko and or whoever it is. And one of the reasons is because the current companies that show TVL have got no idea about RWA. What does that mean? It means if you want to get one of these websites, and there's only like two or three, I won't name them, but there's only two or three that everyone follows, to list your TVL, they only know how to do it for crypto. They don't understand how to do it for RWA because some of the RWA asset themselves is off chain, right? Like the house or the real estate or the treasury, right? It's not 100% on chain, and that's all there is. So the industry and this whole TVL headache, it's like most of the TVL hasn't been even registered because you're speaking to like a crypto guy who's generally doesn't understand anything about RWA, and they're like, you have to then go and try to explain how the deal works, as in here's the asset, here's the contract, this is the equity token, here's the connection, here's the smart contract, and they don't care, right? They don't care. So like we've got to get our community should be understanding that like we're not a crypto dex, we're not just about like this TVL, and I know that's you've got to be working in the business. So, but it's up to us to explain that better and lay that out, and that's what we're doing now with our IXS Finance, moving in these BT yield products, and it's more of a real business. So, and then we've got to drive up worse for the TVL. So I think I've just highlighted a couple of areas that we need to focus on, Gene, for the next month before we get to the next AMA for everyone. And around IXS token, it's obviously our core asset. It's the most important thing for many people in our team as well as in our community. And when we're going to do everything we can to drive real value to that this cycle.
All right, noted on that, and definitely adding that on my to-do list, Julian. And looks like we're finally boiling down to the last question for the AMA, which I think is a perfect and right way to end this on that note. So I guess from your perspective, Julian, what would be the single most important catalyst this year that could bring major adoption to the platform or just RWAs in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think the major adoption to RWA in general is happening around the industry, around the world, I should say. America, that was the number one thing, for sure. Um, and then I think for us, it's just, if you want to be innovative and first out in a space, you've got to try a lot of things. A lot of things don't work. A lot of things are slow. A lot of things, you need to retool, redo version two, version three. There's a lot of tech platforms out there, and people know they're very famous. It was the 10th, 15th, 20th, 25th thing that they'd launched. So we're still super excited to be building things that have never been built before. I think BTC Real Yield is a killer product. That's keeping me up at night with kind of excitement trying to get that. well, with launching that product and all the work that goes into that, but then driving the growth of that. So they're probably two key elements. And again, we've got these amazing B2B partnerships with crypto exchanges and fintechs. Again, like, you know, the reality of that is that, partnership discussions can take months, if not years, and then you've got, months to integrate and all that stuff. I think, next year that'll start to really come alive in terms of by volumes. And again, you've now started to see a lot of the big guys coming into the space, whether it's Robinhood buying Bitstamp or whatever it is, where you're going to see more and more RWAs. Like every corporate wants to launch their own stable coin. They all want to be Tether and offer people 0% interest and make 5% on every dollar that they've got. So adoption in stable coins, stable type coins or versions of such is just rapidly growing. And that means there'll be a lot more capital for the RWA. And then again, there'll be a lot more capital seeking yield from crypto. And then that's where we're really focused on fixed income products, Wall Street assets only, a very small subset. We've tokenized everything from startups to funds. We'll continue to keep that door open because eventually those floodgates will open. But yeah, we're just following the money and then coming up with some really exciting, innovative ways to bring more capital to the platform. And yeah, I mean, what we have in front of us now, I'm just looking at, I haven't done this today. Let's look at the IXS chart. Yeah, I mean, the last pump over the last year, I guess, was just everyone sort of getting excited by RWA and everyone not really understanding what it was and all these RWA platforms. Like we've just been building through that whole thing. Actually, if I could do it all again, I'd launch IXS now. I wouldn't have launched 3 years ago. That was pushed on us by VCs that wanted liquidity, and we've just had to prop up the token the whole time, building real stuff, which take years of licenses, and it's been extremely expensive. But we did it. We got to take responsibility for those decisions, and we've been able to do it. And I think we've done a pretty good job. So yeah, now I think it's the time for us to really come into our own.
All right, thanks for that, Julian. I just want to also, share that sentiment with you. Like, it's been great working with IXS, growing and watching the market mature and just seeing to where we are now. I could never be more excited, right? And it goes without saying that, big thank you to the community as well. That through everything that you guys have been with us, and we wouldn't be IXS without you guys. So, I
Yep.
think that is the
Yep.
last. Yep, that is the last question, Julian. So I guess any parting words for the community, anything you might want to add on.
Uh, yeah. Look, thanks for tuning in. I know there's a lot of noise. It's hard to work out where the signal's at. I think we really appreciate all the support. And we've got a fantastic community. I think I've been in and out of many communities over the years, and I mean, just as an observer, there's just a lot of people out there wasting their times. But I think we've got a lot of really smart people. And yeah, I think our team continues to deliver real products and real business. It's the hardest thing to do. There's a lot of people that have spoken about this on social media. Why is it the grifters? Why is it the rug pulls? Why is it all the people that just lie and never build anything that always have these big token um, gains? And it's like, yeah, because they don't actually do any work, right? That is the job. Just pump, dump, rug, move on. So we've done the opposite. And yeah, I think, as I said, a lot of the smartest crypto investors that I follow that aren't anonymous nobodies are all moving into this narrative. It's like it's that the real world asset narrative is not a one-off. We've seen many one-offs, I would say, in crypto. We've seen meta, and I don't want to offend anyone, but if holistic, it's hard to not to say. It's not. It'd be hard to argue this next statement, which is, we've seen stuff like metaverse. We've seen stuff like, again, other types of so-called asset classes in crypto that were great experiments that often went to zero. Right? RWA is different. It always has been. We've been saying this for 6 years. Tokenizing real assets is a real thing, and there's trillions and trillions of dollars. There's way more real world assets than crypto. There always will be because the world is real. Right? So once this starts to get adoption, which is happening now, there's only going to be an uptrend. there's not going to be like a massive bear market in RWA. This doesn't make any sense. That's like saying there's a bear market in treasuries. Like, it doesn't really work like that, right? So aligning yourselves to platforms again that are have real products that um, that are growing, that will continue to grow. I think that the RWA section of crypto, and what I mean by that is the utility tokens, the better ones, and that's how I think about IXS. They might not have been, 100x yet or crazy pump and dumps, but um, they're the actual real use case. They're a proven use case. They're a real use case. Everything else will experiment. And I think there'll be a lot of innovation. I think there'll be a lot of amazing new RWA products to invest in over time. And we've got the fallback. The fallback is Wall Street's now supporting us along the way. So we can continue to be out here designing, building, trying new things, Bitcoin real yield, that we'll come up with something else, in a couple of months' time, I'm sure, with the backing that like there's all this capital now coming, and it's not going to get less capital. It's not going to be this huge pump and huge dump because again, if I went and bought a treasury token today, I might hold that for 20 years, right? Because it's like buying a treasury at the bank. Like, just and if markets go up and down, a lot of these assets are the ones that everyone goes to, right? So you'll probably see a really surge in RWA asset tokens in next year or the year after. If crypto does a normal cycle and it goes up for the next 12 months and then goes down for 24 months, RWA is going to surge because now you're going to have 10x the number of stable coins. No one wants to earn 0%. Everyone's going to get more comfortable buying treasuries and then going out the risk curve to money market funds. So all these yield bearing tokens are just going to have this like huge surge of capital, just like in the last crypto bear market is when on-chain treasury started to take off because everyone's sitting around grumpy, Bitcoin's going down, and everyone's earning nothing. Right. So Bitcoin yield product is a product for now and forever. RWA treasury is a product for now and forever. And I think IXS is positioned now to really dominate this cycle.
All right, thank you for those parting words, Julian. And if I could just summarize that, it just sounds like it's not a question of if, but when. And I think that wraps it up for our monthly AMA for this month.
Awesome.
Thank you
Well,
everyone for participating, and thank
thank,
to you as well, Julian.
thanks everyone. Appreciate your time. Take it easy, Gene. Good job.